Welcome, Sujata.
Thank you, Vineet. I'm extremely glad to be on this show.
Okay, very well. Anything before we begin? I have a set of questions, and I would like to talk to you about our topic today, which is about the credit awareness and why it is more important in the post-pandemic and the difficult economic situations. But before we begin, anything you'd like to say in this context, and then I will go on to the questions.
Sure, Vineet. So, before we start, a lot of MSMEs would have joined this session, and I would like to give a quick introduction of TransUnion CIBIL. So, TransUnion CIBIL is the oldest credit bureau. In fact, we were just talking backstage that we complete 20 years this year. And as most of you would have heard of CIBIL score for individuals, we do also have a database of companies, basis which we create CIBIL rank for multiple businesses. This rank is extensively used by lenders to provide faster and cheaper access to credit, to MSMEs. So when we look from a standpoint of what we do for individuals, there's a lot of initiatives that are being driven to drive the MSME agenda as well.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. And I'll get started with the questions. I was very excited to have you on this fireside chat and talk about this important aspect which is affecting all the SMEs. And but before I do that, for all our audience, I think this is an interactive session. I've tried to collate some questions that will be useful for us as an SME community. But the Q&A panel is open. So I would request that our audience post their questions in the Q&A panel, and so that we can take it up with Sujata. Sujata, my first question to kick it off is, we talk about, we know about the TransUnion CIBIL and the CIBIL score for personal, which applies to me as a person. But what is this about? What are these various aspects of credit assessment for which are applied to MSMEs and we should be aware of? So if you can talk a little bit and educate us on that.
Sure. So first things first, MSMEs play a very, very significant role in overall India's economy. So, we've heard they currently contribute to 29% of country's GDP, and the government intent is to take it to 50%. So having said that, there are multiple schemes that are being driven by the government. When you look at the ECLGS and other schemes, these schemes have provided a much needed boost to the sector. And, having said that, in the new normal, lenders today are looking to onboard credit healthy MSMEs and structurally strong MSMEs. Few things that lenders actually look at that I would like to highlight here, while doing a credit assessment for MSMEs are number one, the CIBIL rank. A CIBIL rank basically ranges from 1 to 10. So 1 to 4 is considered and showcases a structurally strong entity, and actually can be used as a definition or an indicator for leverage. The second big piece, I think, when you look from an assessment standpoint, is business transactions returning to normal. How are businesses coming back to normal, which also indicates the demand supply chain is reaching some bit of normalcy. The third big point to consider here, I would say, is reduction of debt. Which has been built over the last couple of months. There have been multiple, interventions, multiple changes. You talk about moratorium. How are businesses coming back? Is the credit utilization lower than what it was earlier? I think these are the few indicators that lenders do consider. And the last one definitely is what is being considered while taking a CIBIL rank as well, is repayment of business loans or any other credit line. How are businesses repaying their outstanding? I think these are few things that are considered for credit assessment in the new normal as we see it.
Well, thank you for sharing those insights. I think I would agree 100% with you that towards the credit assessment, projecting an SME's viable business and the continued business growth is an important aspect for getting faster access to credit. Now, if I just further that conversation, then how is TU helping or TransUnion helping SMEs get faster and better access to capital? Like, what role are you guys playing in that whole drive towards that?
Sure. So when you look at TransUnion CIBIL, we actually follow a two-pronged approach to empower MSMEs and individuals likewise, educate and facilitate. So I would start with facilitation first to begin with. Uh, TU CIBIL has extensively participated in all the recent interventions for SMEs, whether it's the ECLGS restructuring or any of the schemes. We work very closely with the government to frame conducive policies, and at the same time we have been working with lenders to make sure that these policies are and benefits are extended to SMEs smoothly and digitally as well, to make sure we are helping them fund and find the right business. At the same time, talking about the last mile interaction that we have with MSMEs, we work directly with them to educate them about how they can build a positive credit profile so they can become credit worthy and loan ready enterprises. Some of the initiatives there are different kind of credit education initiatives. We provide them access to their own CIBIL rank and company credit report through our site cibil.com, which not only helps them get faster and cheaper access to credit, but also provides an unbiased 360-degree view of their business. I think this is becoming an important, I would say, a reputational collateral, which is used not just for a loan, but also for multiple transactions that are happening. We also partner with members to drive large-scale credit awareness. One such initiative that we've done with SIDBI is the launch of a portal called MSME Saksham, which basically is a one-stop knowledge portal for MSMEs, which aims at driving credit awareness, facilitate easy access to credit, and basically equip them with all the information that they need to succeed. So I think these are some initiatives that we're driving at both ends of the spectrum, lenders, government, and the end MSMEs as well.
And it's a great set of initiatives. I'm sure that our SME community is benefiting from that. So, if I were to look at our SME community, and times have been tough, and we do, all of us need working capital support and other kind of support to persist through these tough times. So, given that you've been involved with the government, you are looking at the data at a more holistic level with a larger data set across separate different sectors, what would you recommend are some of the more practical long-term and short-term strategies that our SME community, our participants who are listening to us today, can implement to improve their credit worthiness so that they can, get faster access to credit?
Right. So Vineet, while the only credit mantra that works, I would say in both short-term and long-term strategy planning is to pay on time every single time. So which is not just loans, but the way you're dealing with your businesses as well. But definitely considering the times, businesses should look at tweaking their short-term strategies, if I had to put it that way, to survive and sail through this difficult phase. Some of the strategies that we can think on, as we talk to more MSMEs and engage with them, is to reassess the current situation, basically to see what the liquidity is, what are the cash flow conditions, and of course the growth plan in the next 3 years. The second one big piece is consider and avail the credit opportunities that are offered by lending institutions under the government initiatives. I think that's extremely critical. There's a lot of, I would say, initiatives that are being driven. Go to your lender, see what you can work towards. Uh, Third being, I would say, business owners should also take a step back and consider how can they maintain a positive credit profile in the long run as well. So if you really look at how can they build a structurally sound business, I think which kind of shows in the bureau as well. From a long-term perspective, I think what is important is to have a very, very strong credit profile. Have a very strong credit profile. Pay the lenders and your creditors within the time frame and within the credit window, because that obviously does show on your credit profile as well. Use credit leverage cautiously. So while you are trying to build up the business in the short term, but do have a long term view in as well. How are you using your entire credit leverage? And the last one, which becomes extremely important, is I think awareness about your CIBIL rank and company credit report becomes extremely important, right? Whilst we've seen for consumers, it's important to monitor your profile regularly to ensure that it's updated and accurate. work with your banker, because this actually paves the way for faster approvals and competitive rate of interest. So, like I mentioned earlier, any of the government schemes are dependent also on which kind of businesses that need to be extended to. I think these are some things that businesses can definitely work towards to wade through this crisis.
Wonderful. So there is, I know that as a individual, I can get access to a free credit report every
Sure.
year.
Sure.
And that's like a regulatory, thing that as a regulation I can get access to it for free. I'm just curious to know, and possibly this will help all our SMEs as an SME, as a company. Is there something like that, or how do I monitor my credit rank and my score? Like, what opportunities exist? Do I come to TransUnion, or if you can throw some light on that?
Sure. So an MSME can take their CIBIL rank and company credit report through a website, which is CIBIL.com, by giving in the requisite KYC documents. What we've made it easier for an MSME today, it's a digital world, right? And once is not enough is what we believe in. We have created subscription products for MSMEs and created a login portal for MSMEs as well, wherein they can log in. Once they go to CIBIL.com, create an account for themselves, they can log in. And we have multiple subscription features which are available, whether it's a 6-month subscription or an annual subscription at very, very competitive rates that an MSME can go and avail of. So CIBIL.com, and it's a very, very seamless process. Log in, authenticate yourself, and you can actually have an annual access there.
So good to know there is a digital process by which, as a company, I can get my credit rank and monitor it. So we spoke about the government focus, and that especially with the pandemic and post-pandemic, the focus on the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Make in India initiatives, the MSME reclassification the government did, and the credit guarantee schemes that have been launched across all sectors. So there's a very large focus on taking that 29% contribution to the GDP from SMEs to maybe 40% and higher. So given that you have access to how month on month data is progressing, what are your views, and are you seeing some positive impact of these measures on the SME business? So if you can share some more insights, that'll be really helpful for us.
Right. So absolutely, Vineet. I think the government schemes have been very, very helpful, whether it's the ANB or the ECLGS scheme. They've actually helped giving the boost resurgence that was needed for this sector. You're right. I think at TransUnion, we are able to see what is the kind of loans that are getting sanctioned. We have seen an increase in inquiries. Banks, I would say, have done a fantastic job in ensuring that the disbursements actually happened. The end MSME got that, and we've seen that increase in the traffic, in the inquiries that we saw on the bureau as well. PSU banks have been at the forefront, and with private sector and NBFCs have also stepped up disbursements. So what we have seen is across different segments, whether it's urban, semi-urban, rural, we have actually seen the schemes working very well, the disbursements going up. And you rightly said, when we look from a Make in India perspective, this slogan isn't a new one. It's not a new slogan. What it's actually done is it did wonders during the festive season, and I think everybody was encouraged to show their support towards Make in India. These are small but steady steps that will definitely boost and encourage the MSME sector. I think what's going to be important is the continuation of these schemes and how MSMEs are able to avail and get the right credit from a long-term perspective. So, but these schemes are working well. I think came in time. The banks actually took it well. They were able to extend to the MSMEs. We worked very closely with both sides of the house to ensure that we were able to revive the sector.
Now that's very good to know that there are positive impacts being seen, and you're seeing it from the data. There's nothing like the data actually showing you the impact. It's not just a feeling that it's impacting. The festive season and the Make in India thing, I know for sure because I participated in that initiative wholeheartedly as well. Is a new kind of an empowerment for the SMEs that they are getting now, and the support of the whole country. Good to
Yeah,
know all
actually,
of
it's very, sorry to cut you, but it's very encouraging. We need the first thing that you see whenever you buy a product. I think, my 10-year-old son sees where is this product made. So I think it's making a lot of difference, definitely.
Yeah, we need to stand behind our SMEs and make
Yes,
them win.
absolutely.
So I think these are very heartening, signs which we are seeing in the whole country rallying behind. Uh, but the tough times still remain. I think
Yeah,
all economic indicators, while are getting better, but they're just getting better from the perspective of the deficit of GDP getting closer to zero now.
right.
But it's still in negative, and it's projected to be, 7.5, 8, whatever percentage it's going to be. So times are still tough. And what would you like to share to MSME business owners that will continue to help them during this tough dynamic?
Right. So Vineet, I think you're right. I think we have covered some path, but there's definitely a long way to go. So when we look at it, revival actually solely depends on the business's ability to handle the current demands, if I had to put it that way, and adapt to changes in the environment. Whether it is moving digital, I think there are a lot of initiatives that are happening to make sure that we move all the offerings digitally, have a seamless journey. But it's important for businesses to have a long-term outlook. While I think short-term is good, but having a long-term outlook and maintain the competitive edge. Staying credit conscious, staying in terms of helping the close-knit community. I think we will be able to bounce back any business's health. Uh, if I had to just talk about four things that a business, in my view, can do to help, revive and maintain the business continuity, would definitely be optimize cash flows. I think that is extremely important. Relooking at the processes, what are the redundancies that can be let go of? How do we move digitally? When we look from a recovery standpoint, I think it's important to look beyond the crisis. We are in the crisis. We're coming out of crisis situation, but maintaining a extremely strategic choices become extremely important. Leverage the government schemes and work towards building I would say, a higher civil rank. Also, I think while we are using that, make sure we're looking from a long-term perspective of how are we paying back, how are we partnering with banks. Go back to your banker to see the options that are available. I think at this point in time, it's very, very critical to stay in touch with your lenders, your chartered accountants, to see what are the different options available. And lastly, I think what I personally feel is extremely important is invest in the communities that you serve, because that will help you build a very, very strong brand recall along the entire chain as well. So I think these are some things which definitely will help businesses revive. And we are very, very positive of the future ahead.
It's very heartening to know that. I think, if I were to summarize the key takeaways from what I got from hearing you was absolutely optimizing the cash flows is going to be helping the SMEs, paying attention to their, rank, CIBIL rank, maintaining that rank if during this tough time is going to be critical as well. Taking help, and there's a lot of help, whether it's
Okay.
the countrymen
Absolutely.
or whether it's the lenders or the credit moratorium and other things which have been provided. It's always better to take the help rather than just deal with it by yourself. A lot of helping hands are there. And fourth key takeaway: tough times are there, but things are moving towards the positive, and this has almost passed, and we will be having a great 2021. Sujata, it was a wonderful, wonderful session talking to you. Your answers were spot on. I'm sure that our SME community would find them very, very useful. Uh, we have a lack of time, but I'm sure that we will create some other opportunity to hear more thoughts from you and TransUnion CIBIL in the future as well. So once again, thank you for sharing your thought. It was a pleasure having and chatting up with you.
Thanks, Vineet. It was my pleasure to be here. And like we said, we are working towards empowering the MSMEs. I think CIBIL.com is the site that they can reach out to, whether they have any kind of queries or questions. They have an option to reach out to us there. So,
Thank you.
thank you.